Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to this LinkedIn live stream. We're on YouTube Live as well, by the way. My name is Michel Bouwman. I'm the channel manager for Modern Work in Microsoft in the Netherlands. We're going to be talking about how Ernst Young got 300,000 users on Microsoft Teams today. And I'm not here by myself. I actually have a great guest. My man, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name is Jonathan Danowitz. I'm out from beautiful sunny Miami, although it's not very sunny today.
Yeah.
But my mission here at EY is to drive what we call productivity, and that focuses on introducing new methods for education, training, and what we call in-application support for the entire M365 suite, but specifically nowadays around Microsoft Teams.
Good stuff. Just a little side note: my internet connection is horrible today. I keep losing the connection every few minutes for a few seconds. So if I freeze, you know why. But I'm sure Jonathan will cover up for me. If you have any questions, there we are. If you have, see, it just happened. If you have any questions and you're joining us live today, please.
I think we lost you there.
And we're back.
Yep, I think we're back.
I think at least.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay.
There
Can you
we
hear?
are. Yeah, we're back. So I was just saying that there's something wrong with the internet connection in the house. Started last night. So let's see how this holds up. If you have any questions and you're joining us live on either LinkedIn or YouTube, feel free to ask them in the comment section, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. Listen, Jonathan. So you went from Skype for Business to Teams. Tell us a little bit about that, and then the
Yeah.
modern work program that you set up within EY.
Yeah, thanks. Going from Skype to Teams as a group, right? A lot of us got together, and what we did is we put together first what we call the Modern Workplace program, and that program had three different tiers, right? The first tier was what we called modern messaging, and that was really to have a focus to move Exchange obviously to the cloud. It's important, obviously, when you want to get into calendaring. It was also important to us to start to showcase Find Time, right, to get better ability to schedule.
Yep.
And so that took a lot of energy and a lot of effort. And so once that program finished, we then went to what we called stage two, which is called a modern work style piece of our all up modern workplace program. And so that was kind of a bulky type program, and that really consisted of taking us from anybody having Windows 7 to Windows 10. It was deploying Office Pro Plus, really to be able to take advantage of a lot of the Office products in the cloud.
Mhm.
One important piece was OneDrive for Business, right? We knew obviously we needed to get ODB deployed so we could start to have some chat files once we finally got over to Teams. And it
Mhm.
was a big push for us around mobile, right? Really deploying mobile to our workforce so they could understand and start to use a lot of the M365 products on the mobile.
Mhm.
And that was really big for us. And so once that completed, then we moved into what we called modern teaming, and that's where we started to push out Teams, right? And so once we pushed out Teams, we started to do that really about this time last year, November. That's where we needed to kind of drive our focus on user adoption, right? So how do we get people to start to use Teams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
so, so
so
how,
go ahead.
so how did that happen? I mean,
Yeah.
change is difficult for anybody, right? Everybody's always saying they enjoy change until something actually changes for them.
Yep.
So what was it that you had to put in place to make sure that change happened, especially looking at the fact that you're working with people all over the globe? I mean,
Yeah.
300,000 users is quite a lot. What's your current adoption rate of Microsoft Teams in EY?
Yeah. So we have about a 95% adoption rate, which is just
Sheesh.
amazing, right? We're
Yeah.
really thrilled with it. So how did we do that? And I'm going to go over just a few kind of three core steps that we've taken to get to that adoption. There's plenty more, plenty of other groups that really helped here. But our problem at EY was, our size and our communication needs. And
Hmm.
so we had a number of countries that refused to migrate to the cloud. So we needed to reach kind of a good balance for a good solution between, cloud and non-cloud, and how they would interconnect with each other.
Hmm.
So we went down a couple of different paths, and I'm going to talk about them, but I think the best approach after I'm done talking is I'll share out a little bit, and so you can get a good visual as well too. So as I stated, November of last year, we kind of started to push our team's adoption. But because some of the challenges of different EY countries having different, you know, requirements and limitations of how we communicate, we felt it was necessary to do a few pieces. So first, what did we do? We there we I guess the requirement was to develop what we call know-how. And know-how essentially is just pinning of a SharePoint site on the left-hand rail of Teams. And I'll show that
Hmm.
once I share out.
Yeah.
And that came really from a need of how do we keep people in teams, right? Because EY made a decision early on, and we used the word sticky. We wanted people to be in teams and stay in teams,
Right.
right? And so it was a combination of that, as well as how you learn about teams and how you ensure you know your responsibility when you use the product as well too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Can you give some
Uh,
examples of those responsibilities?
yeah, for sure. So we have different service lines, and different service lines have different processes that they're allowed to use Teams with or not. So how can they save files? Where should they save files? Should they be talking to external clients using Teams, or if there's another product that they're supposed to be using? So we really put the onus on those different service lines to understand their responsibility on what they should or shouldn't be doing when using the product. And so we lay that out, and I'll show that also. The second part of the next part was, and I'd like to hear some feedback also from the folks that are listening to this as well too, is
Hmm.
we knew email at EY was only so effective, right? We're really seeing a decline in what I call action rate when you send an information out in Teams and you want
Hmm.
them to take action.
Hmm.
But we wanted to keep informing people about Teams while they were in Teams, right? That's that stickiness that we talked about. So what we did is we deployed what we call EY Tech, but that's really an app template called Company Communicator.
Right.
Okay, so know-how, that first piece, the pinning that we talked about at the SharePoint site, that's the kind of, come here for core resources, right? And then the EY Tech essentially prods you to look for, more information. It feeds you the information.
Hmm.
And then the third leg was a deployment of what we call, EY calls Ask Me, which is a better QA help facility. So that's the app template called FAQ Plus. And the
Hmm.
idea was twofold. It was somewhat of an intelligent bot to give you answers to your questions,
Hmm.
or if the bot wasn't able to answer your questions, we had a group of individuals that we call experts ready to
Right.
join the conversation live, to assist. So
Right. So
those
what
three
you did,
legs, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So what you did is you've loaded all these frequently asked questions into that chatbot, probably using Q&A makers, some type of service.
That's
And then
right.
if the bot couldn't answer that question, you had to hand over, build into the bot to somebody on the team.
Yeah, so we've loaded it up with a bunch of what we call Q&A pairs, right? So questions and answers. And
Hmm.
so it was super effective for us. So this, and I'll show you this in a moment, I would not deploy Teams without having some type of bot service to help. Reasoning being, it lessens your questions going to your local help desk.
Hmm.
It gives the person on the other end the confidence that when they ask a question, that somebody's absolutely going to know the answer and not keep pushing you on to somebody else.
Mm.
Right? You get one shot at deploying this thing, the right way.
I have two questions about this. So one is, how much time do you think it actually saved you and the team by implementing this bot? That's question one.
Yeah.
Maybe go ahead and answer it before I ask question two.
So when you say how much time, I think it was we didn't look at it from a time. We looked at it from a UX or a user experience, right?
Okay.
So we didn't time is not the issue for us. It's a user experience was our main focus, right? We wanted you, it's a new product. We
Mhm.
wanted you to use the product, but if you had a problem, we wanted you to have a place that you could quickly get an answer, whether it's through the bot or talk to somebody live that will know your answer on the spot.
Hmm. Okay, and then and I like what you're saying about experiences. We should get a little bit more in depth on that when it comes to experiences
Sure.
versus features. And I see some questions already coming in. Please keep them coming, and we'll make sure we'll answer them a little bit later into the session. The second question regarding this bot is, how do you ensure that the information stays up to date? Because as Microsoft, we're constantly implementing new things, new features that can lead to new experiences.
Yeah.
But how do you ensure that that database stays up to date?
Yeah. So a couple things, and it's a good question. I don't know if I have a super solid answer other than we are when I say we, it's collective we, the EY. It's not just me and my team. There's a lot of people. We're
Hmm.
constantly working with the Microsoft product team, right? So we're having constant meetings with them to fundamentally understand what's coming down the pipe. We're looking at any new articles that are coming out. We're talking with folks like you, right, to say, hey, what's new, what's coming out. Now, the updates on all of these kind of databases. So, for example, our bot. The good news is it's super helpful. The bad news is it's very manual, right? It's intensive
Right.
labor where we need to update it ourselves, right? So there's lots
Yeah.
of kind of sweet and sour when it comes to that. When we talk about know-how, and I'll show you our SharePoint sites again momentarily here, is
Hmm.
that's all a manual process as well too, right? So everything that I'm talking about definitely takes a lot of energy and a lot of thought, and it really can't sit for a period of time because of what you said. The product is moving so quickly that we need
Hmm.
to adopt and adapt to the change and update our information. I would say almost weekly at this point.
And you've set owners to those tasks, saying, "Hey, you are responsible for keeping
We
this the
we do.
SharePoint or the button." Okay.
Yeah. So within our organization, again, with specifically in the groups that I work in, we have a content team, right? So we're always updating that content team. We have the expert team, we have a training team, and we have a communications team.
Hmm.
So we're
What is
always working together.
what are the? There's a question coming in from Paolo on YouTube.
Yeah.
Thanks for answering
Yeah.
the question, Paolo. What were the most common support questions received from the users?
Yeah. So when we talk about support, right, specifically with teams, and I suspect most people know, there's going to be these peaks and valleys, right? So as new product gets kind of delivered or new features are rolled out, you're going to get this
Hmm.
kind of spike up and then the spike down. But in the very beginning, it was mostly around meetings, right? So how do I do this? How do I do that? Which was a bit different than Skype. um, but I think the other piece came around kind of channel creations. How do I manage my team once I create one? And then quite a bit moved over into external. So once we allowed the ability for external people to come and be part of our team, that was a major uptick in, can I do this? How do I do this? How do I turn that feature on and off? And how do I manage somebody externally coming into my team?
Hmm, got it. Okay, so we've had the two pillars: pinning the SharePoint, the bot. What's the third one?
Yeah, the third one is the EY Tech, right? That's your company communicator app template, and that's the ability to create these adaptive cards.
Mhm.
We send these out every 2 weeks. I'll show you here in a moment on what they look like. And at the bottom of an adaptive card, first off, we tell you, hey, this is what we want you to know, kind of a tip and trick on the Teams piece itself.
Mhm.
It allows you to put a link or a URL at the bottom, and I call that action rate. And what I mean by that is when we send an email out and we want someone to take action, we know that we're getting kind of a single digit action of a customer kind of doing something
Yeah.
when they click on that email. as
Right.
opposed to these tech cards, we get a 22% action rate, which
Wow.
is really big for a company like ours.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a lot.
for
Can you
sure.
show us?
Yeah, let me
And while you
put
open
my
this up, we have a question coming in from David, and David is asking, do you already use Teams phone system as the soft phone?
we're getting there. So I think that's the last part of the journey for us is to deploy. Um, sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. Is to deploy the phone system. Yeah. And let
Cool.
me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, actually, I have to add it to the stream. There we go. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. Okay, so let's first start with again know-how. So this is where we have pinned SharePoint sites. So you can see up here, these are tabs that we pin.
Hmm.
One thing I would recommend if you're going to pin these again, if you as a company have made a decision that you're going to keep people, I use this word over and over, sticky, meaning they're going to start their day, you want them to stay in teams.
Hmm.
Um, you want to kind of create deep links up here. And the reason for that is although these are independent SharePoint sites, you'll see when I
Hmm.
click on any of these tabs, we don't take you out of Teams. We keep you in Teams, and we show that the new SharePoint sites here, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's super important as well too. And I'll just run through some of these quickly because I think it's important to showcase some of the things that we're doing that may be helpful for others.
Hmm.
Um, so again, we talked about what's trending. So one thing we do is once a month we'll put what are the latest trending topics that or questions that people have been asking. And again, we're getting them through mostly these bots. So we want to make sure that we're showcasing to everybody in the company, hey, these are what your peers are asking. Go ahead and take a look to see if it's
Hmm.
helpful for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, we come down here to once a month we have what we call a team spotlight. So this one is make the most of your channels, right? So each month we modify and we change these. And then the last piece on this front page, and I'll show this quickly here, is we're changing these constantly, but these are top tips. And so this is kind of where you had asked a question around experiences. Um, we made a mistake, I think, in the beginning when we deployed Teams. We were really focused on the features, or hey, this new piece came out, and we would really kind of say, hey, check this out, right?
Right.
And we get this really big rise of, okay, I checked it out, but then all of a sudden through analytics, we'd see a complete dip in people using the product, and we said, well, why? And so we thought about it, and what we changed was our approach to, not what is this button and what does it do, to more of when I click this button, how does it make me more effective in my job? And you'll see our tips here, right? Really kind of convey that where, hey, you want to prepare yourself, for a meeting before others join, or do you want to find out who joined your meeting, when they left? And so
Hmm.
we now relate everything back to an experience, right? So it's
Right.
not just a feature anymore. I see lots of people always popping out, hey, check this feature out, check that feature out, but they
Hmm.
never kind of parallel it with this is a great opportunity to use this feature like this,
Yeah.
right? So power to perform or connect and collaborate, right? You know, get yourself a fundamental understanding of, how this is going to help somebody in their day-to-day job. And since we've done that, we now have this steady state rather than this peaks and valley when we put out new information.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a question in the meantime before you move to the second phase.
Yeah.
It's a question from Daniel saying, did the global deployment of Skype create the foundation for the Teams deployment?
Yeah, so we had Skype in our infrastructure for quite some time. So we were an on-premise Skype infrastructure, and
Hmm.
so we moved from Skype to Teams.
Hmm. And then we have a second one, and this is a little bit more technical, and we won't get too technical on this session. But how did you handle survivability for voice?
I think that's maybe a. I can come back. Let's maybe we'll
Okay.
park that one.
Yep.
That's definitely
We'll
something
take
we'll
that
park
offline.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. All good. All good.
So I think I'll just show a few more here just to give everybody kind of a flavor, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. Um, this is what we called our learning journey. And so EY and the size, we turn over about 50 or 60,000 people a year. And so
Mm,
once new recruits and new folks come in, we don't know your proficiency, right? So I don't know
right.
where you're at with your team's knowledge. So we created this learning journey, and we give you, the user, the option to come here to start to learn. And so we call it getting started. I don't like calling it kind of new user, or, or somebody who's kind of intermediate. So we call it getting started, discover more, or become an expert. And so let's say you've come in, you've used Teams before, but you want to kind of discover more. You can come here, and what we've done is, which I really like, is anything in white is something that you should know at this point during this experience, right? This connect and collaborate type experience. But there's really other things in here, like these bonus features that you may not know. And this is where we'll point you to say, hey, check these out. Maybe you didn't know you can share files with other people, or you can kind of direct people, or you can have, each channel has its own group mailbox associated to it. So send email to a channel, right? Reduce your email churn, right? So this has been really helpful for us. And we highly recommend others to kind of create a journey for your users to say, hey, you may not know anything, so start here. Or if you kind of want to discover more, kind of start during these phases. And then two other things here is we created what we call bite-sized guides. So I
Mhm.
created a whole bunch of sways here, right? We wanted to kind of stay within the Microsoft stack.
Right.
Um, within here, I'll just kind of open one up. Um, I highly recommend, and I probably shouldn't say this too loud, but users don't read. We just know that they don't read. So what we've done is we kind of went back to the old GIF, right?
Yep.
These 10-second just repeatable videos. And ever since we've done that, these folks have really kind of enjoyed looking at it, and they quickly are able to adopt what we're trying to showcase even more. One piece that I will say here, and I laugh all the time, is anybody can come down here to help, and they can
Yeah.
click what's new, right?
But nobody does it.
Zero. I don't know why. It's almost like they don't want to click it. We moved this what's new feature up here. We're basically mirroring what's in the Microsoft. So it's not us creating this. This is a kind of a mirror, and it's kind of
Right.
our third most visited SharePoint site within the Teams piece.
Wow.
So it's been great. It's been great.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
yeah, so this is the pinning, right, of
Right.
our site. Um, the next, there are these, what we call these adaptive cards. This is what we call EY Tech. Okay. This is Company Communicator. It's an application template. You can just look that up if you're not familiar with it. Backend is
Yep.
GitHub. And you'll see here, this is just one of the latest ones that we've sent out, about kind of don't overshare, sensitive information in Teams. And so these cards, and this is sort of the action rate I'm talking about, first off, they have your header. You can put whatever type of picture that you want in here. You put your body of text here, and then you have the ability to link out to something. And this is the action rate that I'm talking about, where this is the 22% we get. So if we want to point you to, say, a SharePoint site or anywhere else, we're getting about 22% of users clicking this and seeing additional information about these adaptive cards that we've sent out. Two
I just
places that
pasted
they,
the. I'm sorry
oh,
to interrupt, but
no,
I
no, go
just
for it.
pasted the URL to the communicator app. It's right there, and it's probably too long for you to pick up now. But you can always watch the stream afterwards on YouTube and LinkedIn,
Great.
and check this one out.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. And so two places that, well, let me back up. What we've done is we also pinned this to the left-hand rail. And the reason for that is, A, it'll show up as a chat. But second, I wanted you to also be able to see it on the left-hand rail, because again, like email, it could get lost in the sauce, right? You could start
Right.
to kind of, and then, hey, I wanted to see that. How do I get to it? So at any point, you can come here and click our EY Tech card. Now,
Hmm.
before I get to the bot, I do want to make one thing known here is this is some, this is good real estate here on the left-hand side. but Microsoft only allows X amount of pinning. I think it's 12. You may know the answer. I think it's about 12 of them you can pin here on the left.
Yeah, I thought it was 9, but it could be
9.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
something like that.
so the issue though is people have different display settings, so they have it higher. So if your display setting is set high, some of this may not show. So you
Mhm.
may need to make a decision to move this up the chain to be seen. And we did that for know-how. It was further down below files here, and
Mhm.
people didn't know that it was available to them until we moved it up the stack here.
Yeah, I see more and more customers moving it all the way up. So it's the
Yeah,
first app is the know-how app or the communicator app.
yeah. And
Mm.
then last is what we call Ask Me. And so Ask Me is another app template called FAQ
Mhm.
Plus.
Mhm.
And this is where we were talking about having a whole bunch of Q&A pairs where your bot can answer. So we can just do something like what is a team. And so what'll happen is the bot will come back and it'll say, hey, here's the answer that I have for you. If you need more information, you can ask it another question. But this is where I think it really helped us with our adoption. We were getting about 600 questions a day coming into this chatbot. So imagine
Wow.
all of that going out to your local help desk. Now,
Right.
that's again, it's a peak and valley here. It didn't sustain at 600. So as we rolled this out, it would stay at that 600 for a period of time. Then it would gently go down, and then it would go back up again as new functionality, would come out. But what I find really great here is, okay, I've gotten this, but I need more info. So this is where I'll click Ask an Expert. It'll allow me to come here and type, anything I want. Need more
Mhm.
information here. I'm not going to hit the so
Right.
somebody answers it,
Yeah.
but this will go to my team who's sitting and waiting to answer you live.
Mm.
Right. So imagine that you're now not in this queue talking to your local help desk. They're smart folks, but they have 100 different apps that they have to understand and try to figure out and help you with, as opposed to a team who understands this product and can get you the answer real time, efficiently, and quickly.
Yeah, and they answer in Teams?
They do. So they'll either answer. So what happens is this message will come to our experts sitting in their chat box. And so
Mhm.
they'll be able to directly chat with you one-to-one, or if you want, they'll call you if you need assistance over the telephone.
Hmm. Amazing stuff. Let's go to a few questions because we're already hitting the 30-minute mark, and I want to be considerate of everybody's
Sure.
time. I like this one question by Francisco saying, "What would you have done differently today?"
Um, okay, so in the beginning of our rollout, Microsoft came to us and said, Teams is not Skype. It's not Skype 2.0, and don't think of it like that. And so when we rolled out this product, we were very bold to say, hey guys, it's a new app. Don't think of it like Skype. But nobody understood the product. And they were trying to do too much within the product.
Mm.
Okay. And so we changed our mindset and said, you know what? It is Skype 2.0, guys. So just use it for chat, just use it for meetings, right?
Right, right.
And once they did, they were like, oh, it's not too bad, right? Then they can go into the product and say, hey, oh, I see it has this cool new feature. Let me try that now, right? Or let me
Mhm.
slowly get into it rather than us forcing it on them like we did in the beginning. So that's what I would change, or I would recommend that you go back to saying, yeah, it's the next version of Skype. So just take your time, do the core basic functionality, and then introduce new feature sets as needed.
And I think when you talk about stickiness, once you start adding more experiences to it, it'll get a lot more sticky than it might have been with Skype. And so it's way more than just chatting and meeting.
Yeah,
Now you get all these different things that you can do, and as you add experiences using the SharePoint site and the bot and the cards, I think you can create that stickiness. We have a question
sure.
coming from Astrid, which is actually a very Dutch name.
Mhm.
Hi, Jonathan. Is there any particular feature that for you is missing in Teams that you might help the end user in their daily work, or that would improve Teams somehow?
Yeah,
Don't hold
I don't.
back.
Yeah, I don't. So I think I'm at a different part of the process from that question. And so it's not what's missing for me, it's what's next, right? It's the evolution of the product and where you need to get to, right? It's the extendability. And that really is the power platform, right? So for us, we need to extend beyond Teams. Teams is just an application, right? It's another kind of M365 app. And so in order for us to be more effective, we need to extend that, and that's within automation, right? So how do we
Mhm.
automate? So anything that we start to deliver, our first mindset now is that a manual process, and can we flip that to be automated?
I like that.
But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I mean, we're sort of a little bit further along. To go back and say what feature, I'd have to rethink that a little bit.
hmm Yeah, what I like about what we're currently doing with the Power Platform, if you look at all the different connectors that we now have in preview for Teams, and they're getting more and more. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do now, and automate as much as you can.
Yeah, I one last piece is I also, and I'm sure everybody has seen it or heard about it, right? It's the adoption curve. We had a lot of success with our early market folks, right? That's that
hmm
15%. It's
hmm
that next group, right? That pragmatist group that you need to win the hearts and minds, because they will help push you over that curve to your conservatives, right? And so how did we do that? Also, is we have an awesome group here that now Microsoft calls it a champions group,
Yeah.
but we don't. I think that's an old terminology. We call them influencers, right? Because really, what do you want them to do? You want them to influence, right? And drive change there. So um, that group really helped us sell this product to those pragmatists group, right? That 35%. And so having your early market groups and your pragmatists kind of combined, that was the
hmm
group that we took with us to then get to, that curve piece,
Next
that
step.
conservative piece. Yeah. Now, I probably shouldn't say this. There's that 15% of the skeptics, but they have no choice really but to come along, because they're just going to miss, they're going to miss the
and I,
boat if they don't.
and I think they will in the end, right? So
Yeah.
first they might think, hey, let's wait this out, and we're probably going back to something else. But then they'll see, hey, this is here to stay,
Yeah.
and at one point they have to move. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks so much for being part of this live stream. If people want to talk to you, your team, or any of the consultants within EY, what's the easiest way to do it?
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. So either you can reach out to me through LinkedIn, and I can get you in touch with our internal EY consultants. They're just an amazing group, right? They understand everything that we've done internally and beyond. They're just doing some really amazing things. So if you need help to drive your user adoption, reach out to me through LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me directly through Jonathan, Jonathan Danowitz, Danowitz at EY.com. And I'm more than happy to get you in touch with our internal consultant group.
Perfect. Thanks again for joining. Thanks everybody that joined this session live, and to those that watched it afterwards. If you're interested, I'm trying to do a live stream every Thursday. We have one coming up on Microsoft Productivity Score next Thursday, the 19th. You can find that on either my LinkedIn or the YouTube channel. Jonathan, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great talking to you. Let's catch up soon. And thanks everybody for
Okay.
listening. Have a great evening.
All right, guys. Thanks. Bye now.
Bye.